All right, we're going to move on to the next step in the machine block exercise. So I'm going to go to AutoCAD. Okay, this is where we left it last time. We had cut those square holes. Now we need to put the drill parts or the drill holes down into them. So let's see what they are. They are 2.25 diameter drill that are 2.25 deep. Okay, so let's change from conceptual to X-ray. Now for this piece, I'm not going to start in the middle. I'm going to actually draw over to the side a little bit. So I'm going to start with the cylinder command. I'm going to pick a point in space. I'm going to say diameter, 2.25 and 2.25 tall. Pretty straightforward, except you have to add that little drill tip at the bottom. If you were to use, let's close that, the cone command, you think you might be able to do it. You'd start in the center, you'd give it a diameter or a radius, but then how do you give it an angle? It doesn't give you that option. So we're going to try something different. Right now, you can see the UCS is up here, X and Y. I'm going to change the UCS so that it's vertical. So you could do that two different ways. You can use the 3-point, pick the bottom corner as your origin, something along X, something along Y. Really straightforward. It's the easiest way to do it. If you feel a little bit more confident, you can just pivot along the X 90 degrees and just hit enter. Okay, now I'm looking straight on. Okay, so I'm going to change my view cube so I'm looking straight on, and here's why. I want to create that angle, and I'm going to rotate it. So let's start with a polyline command. Actually, let's start with some simple lines. So just a line. I'm going to make sure ortho is on. It's going to draw a line, and I'm going to make it the same distance as the diameter, 2.25. Now I'm going to draw another line straight down from the middle. Don't know how far. Now I'm going to draw a line, some random point in space. I'm going to say at, let's say 12 inches. Remember, to draw an angle, you type in the less than symbol, 30 degrees. So it didn't need to be that big. So I'm just going to click on the grip and drag it down until it snaps there. Okay. Now I'm just going to use the trim command. I'm going to grab all these pieces, enter once, and then I'm going to trim away all these pieces. Then I'm going to use my modify, p-edit, select. It's not a polyline, so I'm going to hit enter to say yes. I'm going to select join. I'm going to grab all three pieces. Now, a couple of things. The reason that I changed my UCS so that I was looking straight at this face on is because you can only create a polyline or turn a group of lines and arcs into a polyline if you're in the proper UCS. You can't create a polyline if the UCS is not lined up with the face of that polyline. Now, this is now a closed polyline, and what can you do with closed polylines? You can revolve them. So specify the axis start point. I'm going to pick the top of the vertical line. I'm going to pick the bottom of the vertical line. The default's 360 degrees. I'm going to do that. I'm going to change my visual style to wireframe. It's a little easier to move my pieces together. I'm going to move that upside down cone over a little bit. I'm going to move it again, but I'm going to snap to the top center point, and I'm going to move it to a line, again, shift right click, with the bottom center of the cylinder, like so. So if I change this back to X-ray and I do a little bit of orbit around it, you can see all the pieces are there, except they're not joined together yet. So I click on the union command, grab everything, hit enter. Now, when I subtract this from this rectangular hole, it's going to disappear. So before I do that, I'm going to copy it. So I have two of them. Now, it has to go dead center in this space. So I'm going to change from X-ray to wireframe, makes it a little easier to see. I'm going to draw a construction line. I'm going to turn my construction line layer back on, make it current. Now I got a whole bunch of lines here that I don't need anymore, so I'm going to delete them because construction lines get really confusing really fast. So let's leave that. Let's get rid of these. Okay. So construction line is current. I'm going to draw a line from one corner down to the next corner. I'm going to do the same thing on the lower step, like so. Why? Because that gives me a center point, a midpoint grip that I can snap to. So I'm going to move one of these cylinders. I'm going to shift, right click. I'm going to go from the top center point to the mid. Same thing, repeat move. Shift, right click, top center to midpoint. I can then delete these two construction lines. If I change from wireframe to X-ray, you can see that they're there. If I change to conceptual, you can see that I haven't cut the holes yet. So I'm going to go back to wireframe. It's easier to cut holes in wireframe just because you can reach through those outer faces, those membranes. So I'm going to use the subtract command. Select the thing I want to keep, enter. Select one of the cylinders I want to get rid of. Select the other cylinder I want to get rid of, hit enter. Doesn't look like anything's changed. So let's change our visual style to conceptual. Now you've got a hole. There are those two holes. That's all there is to it. Make sure we save. All right, and then let's stop sharing. We'll leave it there for now.